The general demanded the hospital's top surgeon. He expected authority. But when she walked in, his face went completely still. The hospital was used to pressure. Gunshot wounds, political emergencies, midnight calls that changed careers in seconds. Nothing here was new. But when the black military convoy stopped outside the emergency wing, the air itself seemed to tighten. No sirens, no noise, just doors opening in perfect coordination. Armed personnel stepped out first, not rushing, not panicking, the kind of calm that only came from long training and real authority. Nurses slowed their steps instinctively. Doctors lowered their voices without being told. A 4-star general was coming in. He wasn't carried. He walked. His posture was rigid, jaw clenched, eyes sharp despite the faint pallor on his face. Whatever was wrong with him, it wasn't weakness. It was something deeper, something that didn't show on the surface. "I don't want delays," he said as soon as he entered the ward. "I was told this hospital has the best surgical team in the region." The administrator hurried forward, sweat already forming at his temple. "Yes, sir. Of course, sir. We're honored." "I don't care about honors," the general cut in. "I want your top surgeon." Now, the word top landed hard. Doctors exchanged quick looks. Residents stopped mid-motion. Phones came out. Pages were sent. Names were whispered. The general was moved into a private trauma suite, not because his condition demanded it, but because his presence did. Inside the room, machines beeped steadily. Vital signs were stable, too stable. "What's the pain level?" a senior physician asked. The general stared at him. "If I could rate it, I wouldn't be here." That shut the doctor up. Scans were ordered. Blood work rushed. Specialists rotated in and out, each asking questions, each getting the same sharp, controlled answers. Nothing obvious. No internal bleeding. No neurological damage. No signs of stroke. And yet, the general's hands trembled slightly when he thought no one was watching. "This doesn't make sense," a neurologist muttered. The general heard him. "Then find something that does," he snapped. "I don't get confused in combat. I won't accept it here." The tension in the room thickened. Finally, the administrator leaned in carefully. "Sir, our chief surgical consultant is on her way." The general nodded once. "Good." Minutes passed. Then the door opened. Not forcefully, no announcement, no urgency, just quiet footsteps. The general looked up, expecting an older man. Gray-haired, decorated, someone who looked like authority. Instead, a woman walked in, mid-30s, calm posture, dark blue surgical scrubs, sleeves rolled slightly as if she'd just come from a long case. No visible arrogance, no rush. Her badge read simply, "Dr. Evelyn Hale, Chief Surgical Consultant." The room paused. The general's expression changed. Not anger, not surprise, recognition. His eyes locked onto her face, not her badge. His jaw tightened as if something old had surfaced, something he hadn't planned to confront. "You," he said quietly. The administrator frowned. "Sir, this is Dr. Hale. She's our—" "I know who she is," the general interrupted. Silence felt like a weight. Dr. Hale met his gaze evenly. "General," she said, still demanding solutions before listening to the problem. A few doctors stiffened. No one spoke to him like that. The general didn't respond. That alone shocked everyone in the room. He studied her carefully, as if recalibrating. "You're running surgical consult now," he said. "I earned it," she replied. The administrator tried to regain control. "Doctor, the general has been experiencing unexplained." "I'll take it from here," she said calmly. She stepped closer to the bed, eyes scanning the monitors, the posture, the way he held tension in his shoulders. "Tell me when it hurts," she said. The general hesitated. "Another first. When I stop moving," he finally admitted. "When things get quiet." Dr. Hale nodded slightly. "How long?" 2 weeks. After anything unusual." "Define unusual." She looked at him. "You already know." A flicker of irritation crossed his face. "That information is classified." She exhaled slowly. "So was the last time," she said. "And 3 people almost died because of it." The room went still. Doctors glanced at each other, confused. The administrator shifted uncomfortably. The general clenched his jaw. "That decision wasn't yours to question," he said. "No," she replied evenly. "It was yours to own. No anger, no raised voice, just truth." She straightened and turned to the others. "Everyone out," she said. The administrator blinked. "Doctor, with respect." "Out," she repeated. The general stared at her for a long second, then nodded. "Leave us." No one argued. As the door closed behind them, the room felt smaller. Dr. Hale faced him again. "You shouldn't have waited this long," she said quietly. He leaned back against the bed, eyes fixed on the ceiling. "I didn't think you'd be here," he admitted. She folded her arms. "And yet," she said, "you asked for the best." The general swallowed. For the first time since arriving at the hospital, the weight on his face wasn't pain, it was fear. The silence between them wasn't awkward, it was heavy, the kind that carried old decisions, unfinished arguments, and consequences that never really went away. Dr. Hale pulled a stool closer to the bed but didn't sit. She preferred standing, eye level, no advantage, no submission. "Tell me exactly what happens," she said. "Not the version you give your aides, the real one." The general exhaled slowly through his nose. "When everything stops," he said, choosing his words carefully. "My chest tightens. My vision narrows. It's not pain. It's pressure, like something is waiting." "Waiting for what?" she asked. "For me to slow down," he replied. She nodded once, as if that confirmed something. "And when you're active?" she asked. "Nothing," he said. "I'm fine when I'm moving, flying, briefing, commanding." "So the symptoms appear when you're not in control," she said. His eyes flicked to her face. "That's a dangerous assumption." "It's a medical one," she replied. "You just don't like what it implies." He didn't answer. She reached for the tablet at the foot of the bed and pulled up his scans. Her eyes moved quickly, not just reading data, but looking for patterns others missed. "You've been scanned by the best," she said. "Military facilities, private specialists. No one found anything." "That's correct. And they told you it was stress," she continued. "Something you could manage." "Yes." She turned the screen toward him. "They were wrong." He frowned. "There's no lesion, no clot, no bleed." "No," she agreed. "Because that's not where the damage is." She zoomed in, adjusted contrast, overlaid time markers. "These micro delays," she said, pointing. "They're subtle, almost invisible, but they're not random." He leaned forward slightly despite himself. "What are you saying?" he asked. "I'm saying your body has been compensating for decades," she replied. "Command pressure, sleep deprivation, suppressed adrenaline. You trained it to ignore warning signals. That's how leaders survive," he said. "That's how soldiers survive," she corrected. "Leaders are supposed to stop before it costs lives." He stiffened. "You're crossing into philosophy," he said. "No," she replied. "I'm crossing into history." She looked at him directly now. "Kandahar," she said. The general's face hardened. "That mission is sealed. Not to me," she said quietly. His jaw tightened. The room seemed to shrink. "You advised against that deployment," he said. "Yes," she replied, "because the intel was incomplete, and you were overruled." "I was ignored," she said. "There's a difference. You didn't have the full picture," he snapped. "And neither did you," she said evenly. "But only one of us admitted it." Silence again. The general closed his eyes briefly. "We lost people," he said. "Good people." She nodded. "And you carried that forward," she said. "You never slowed down after. You doubled down. You never stopped long enough for your body to recover." "That's leadership," he said. "That's denial," she countered. He opened his eyes, anger flickering now. "You think you understand command," he said. "Responsibility? The weight of decisions that—" "I think," she interrupted calmly, "that you're dying because you refuse to stop being in charge." That landed hard. The general stared at her. For a long moment neither spoke. Finally he asked, "How long?" She hesitated just a fraction. "Without intervention," she said. "Months, maybe less." His expression didn't change. "And with intervention?" She met his gaze. "High-risk surgery," she said. "Precision work. One mistake and you won't wake up." "And if I refuse?" he asked. She didn't hesitate this time. "You'll collapse when you least expect it," she said. "Probably alone. Probably after giving one last order no one can follow, that struck deeper than any threat." He leaned back slowly. "You always were direct," he said. "You always needed that," she replied. Another pause. "Why are you here?" he asked finally. "Why now?" She studied his face, not with anger, not with judgment. "Because despite everything," she said, You still asked for the best." He gave a humorless smile. "I didn't know it would be you. Part of you did," she replied. "Or you wouldn't have come here." He looked away. Outside the room, doctors waited anxiously. The administrator paced. No one knew what was happening inside. Inside, the balance of power had already shifted. "What do you recommend?" the general asked quietly. She stepped closer. "I recommend," she said, "that for the first time in your career, you let someone else take command." He swallowed. "That doesn't come easily to me," he admitted. "I know," she said. "That's why it matters." He closed his eyes again. "When do we start?" he asked. She placed the tablet down. "After you answer one question honestly," she said. He opened his eyes. "Which is?" She leaned in slightly. "Are you ready to survive?" she asked. "Or do you just want to stay in control?" The general didn't answer right away. But for the first time, his hands stopped trembling. Dr. Hale stood silently, scanning the general's vitals and reviewing the test results one more time. Every beep, every fluctuation, every tiny irregularity was there, but no one else had noticed. Not the team of specialists, not the aides who had watched him like hawks, not even the administrator who had coordinated his arrival with military precision. "Your symptoms," she said finally, her voice calm but firm, "aren't obvious because your body has trained itself to hide them. You've been overriding warning signs for decades. Your brain tells your heart to ignore danger. Your muscles refuse to feel it, but your body knows the truth." The general sat upright slightly, a flicker of defiance in his eyes. "I don't understand. I passed every test, every scan, every evaluation." "You're telling me it's still there?" She nodded once. "Exactly. It's subtle. Micro-ischemic events. Small, barely detectable, but cumulative. You've ignored them for years. Most people would have collapsed long ago. You survived, barely." He leaned back, processing her words. "So all those late nights, all the combat deployments, all the decisions, they brought me here? I survived every mission, every war, and now a hidden flaw in my body threatens me?" "Not just your body," she corrected. "Your choices, your insistence on controlling every variable, every moment, even your own health. That's what brought you here. Your body is paying the price for your authority." A tense silence filled the room. He hadn't expected honesty like this. He had expected deference, maybe even excuses. Not this level of brutal clarity. "I see," he said finally. "So what do you suggest?" Her eyes were unwavering. "Surgery. High risk. Precision work. One mistake and it's fatal. But without it, you risk collapse, possibly permanent. Possibly during a mission no one will even hear about." He exhaled slowly. His mind raced through years of training, decades of leadership. "And sedation?" he asked cautiously. "Anesthesia? I can't let myself be vulnerable like that, not even for a second." She allowed a small, knowing smile. "You don't get to control it. Not entirely, that's the point. For the first time, you'll let someone else take command, someone who has the skill and the responsibility to keep you alive." He leaned forward, gripping the bed rail. "And if I refuse, you'll survive a little longer," she said quietly. "But when your body decides it's done, no rank, no badge, no authority will save you. You'll collapse during a briefing, a mission, even a routine procedure, and no one will be able to help." The words hit harder than any battlefield. For decades, he had been in command of life and death. Now, facing a silent enemy within himself, he was powerless. And she was right there, calm, precise, and unyielding. He stared at her, searching for any hesitation. Found none. "You've seen others in my position?" he asked. "Many," she said. "Leaders, soldiers, operators. They all come to the same realization eventually: authority doesn't protect you from yourself." He exhaled, tension rippling through his muscles. His pride, his ego, every layer of control he had built over decades felt like it was slipping. Yet oddly, there was relief in that. Relief he didn't know he craved. "Dr." Hale leaned closer, her eyes steady, her presence commanding without intimidation. "I need you to trust me. Not the monitors, not the tests, not the other doctors, just me." He stared for a long moment. The room felt smaller, the walls pressed closer, the hum of machines, the faint flicker of fluorescent lights, the distant voices of nurses outside, all of it faded into silence. "I trust you," he said finally. The words were heavy, earned, not given lightly. He added almost as an afterthought, But it won't be easy. It won't, she said. That's why it will work. They moved quickly after that. Every step was measured, every decision deliberate. Dr. Hale coordinated the operation, briefing the team without overwhelming them. Every nurse, every resident, every specialist knew their role but deferred to her in that moment. She commanded not through fear or ego, but through respect earned by competence. The general's body was prepped, lines were drawn, monitors checked, anesthesia planned with military precision. She paused before he was sedated, looking down at him with steady eyes. "You'll feel like you're losing control," she said softly. "That's intentional. Let go. That's the only way you survive." He nodded, a rare vulnerability showing for the first time in decades. "I never let go," he whispered. "Not until now," she replied. As the anesthetic took hold, his last conscious thought was that, for the first time, someone else was in command, and he was willingly surrendering. The operation began. Every movement, every incision, every adjustment was precise. Her hands moved with a surgeon's confidence, unwavering even as the machines beeped warning signals and monitors flickered. The general, though unconscious, was alive under her control, and for the first time, someone else dictated the terms. Hours passed. Outside, the hospital staff waited anxiously, whispering and pacing. No one dared enter without permission. The tension was palpable. And all the while, Dr. Hale moved seamlessly, a figure of quiet authority, holding life and death in her hands. Finally, as the last stitch was completed, the machines stabilized. The general's vital signs normalized. He was alive, stable, but not the same. Something fundamental had shifted, not physically, not entirely, but in the way authority and trust had intersected in that room. When he woke, he found her sitting nearby, calm, steady, watching over him. No fanfare, no unnecessary words, just presence. Respect earned, not demanded. For the first time, the general realized that rank and badges could not command survival. Only competence, calm, and decisive action could. He blinked slowly, registering her figure against the dim hospital lights. His lips parted. He started. Dr. Hale held up a hand gently. "Rest," she said. "You've earned it, but not through control. Through trust." He exhaled, letting it out fully. The tension, the command, the weight of decades. The room was silent but alive with the quiet hum of machines, a testament to a life saved by someone who understood him better than he understood himself. The operation was over. Outside the sterile walls of the OR, tension hung in the hallway like a storm cloud waiting to break. The staff hadn't dared move, hadn't dared speak, and now their whispers carried cautious awe. Every technician, nurse, and resident had witnessed something rare, competence commanding life itself, without raising a voice, without ego, without theatrics. Inside the room, Dr. Hale stepped back from the table. She wiped her hands slowly, methodically, as if each motion reassured the universe that the general's life had not been gambled carelessly. The monitors were stable. His chest rose evenly. His heart, previously tense with hidden alarms, now beat steady and measured. The general stirred. Eyes flickered. First alertness, then comprehension. His gaze fell on her, and the recognition he had resisted for decades finally surfaced fully. You saved me," he said quietly, a voice that carried both relief and disbelief. "I did my job," she replied, calm, precise. No need for dramatic gestures, no need for praise. She had earned authority through action, not titles. He exhaled slowly, a man unaccustomed to yielding control. "I should have listened. Years ago." "Yes," she said, meeting his eyes directly. "You should have." No anger, no triumph, just truth, as blunt and final as the life-saving incision she had just performed. Outside, the administrator entered, pacing cautiously, clearly wanting to assert the traditional hierarchy that had just been bypassed. "Dr. Hale," he said, voice measured, "what exactly did you do? How did you—" "I stabilized him," she said, curtly but respectfully. "Your staff followed standard procedures. I intervened where subtle signs were missed. That's all." "But," he began, as if trying to reclaim some control over the situation. "No buts," she interrupted softly but firmly. "He's alive. That's all that matters." The administrator stepped back, a flicker of realization in his eyes. This wasn't insubordination. This was expertise, authority respected through skill, not rank. Meanwhile, the general attempted to sit up, muscle memory, pride, and command instinct all working against him. Dr. Hale placed a firm but gentle hand on his shoulder. "Don't," she said. "You rest now. You've done enough commanding for one lifetime." He froze, chest rising and falling with the tension that had built for decades. The instinct to assert control warred with the knowledge that she was right. He closed his eyes and exhaled, letting himself finally surrender to someone else's command. That single motion, accepting guidance from another, shifted something intangible in the room. Staff felt it. Nurses relaxed. Residents straightened, the administrator's jaw unclenched ever so slightly. The air itself seemed to acknowledge that authority had been exercised differently and successfully. After a few minutes, Dr. Hale pulled up a chair and sat near the bed, not to dominate, not to watch, but to observe, to ensure he remained stable. Her presence was commanding yet invisible. He realized that she had never really given orders in the way the military did. Instead, she guided, directed, corrected, but always subtly, letting her expertise speak louder than her voice. Finally, the general spoke, breaking the silence that had stretched over the room like a taut wire. "I've spent decades believing rank was everything," he said, voice low, reflective. "Believing authority meant control, that people listened because they had to, not because they respected competence. I was wrong." Dr. Hale nodded, acknowledging both his admission and the growth it implied. Authority without understanding is fragile. Competence without recognition is wasted. But when they meet, the results can be life-saving. He exhaled again, this time less tension, more clarity. "You changed that. Here. For me, yes," she said simply. "I did what needed to be done." Silence fell again, but it was different this time. Not uncomfortable, not tense. It was contemplative, almost reverent. The general studied her face. Calm, steady, imposing without overt display. Her badge glinted faintly under the sterile hospital lights, a symbol of earned authority rather than a medal of ceremony. "I underestimated you," he admitted, voice quieter now, "not just as a surgeon, but as a leader. Someone who understands the stakes without ego interfering." Dr. Hale leaned back slightly, still watching, still attentive. "Ego has no place in a life-or-death decision. It doesn't save anyone. Competence does. Discipline does. Understanding does." He nodded slowly, digesting the lesson that had been so painfully earned through decades of command, crises, and near misses. Will others see this?" he asked hesitantly. "What just happened in this room?" She met his eyes with unwavering certainty. "They will, but not as a story about a general being saved. They will remember it as the day someone did their job with precision when it counted most. That's enough." The general exhaled, again. Relaxation started to seep into his muscles for the first time since entering the hospital. A man of decades of control, finally letting go, finally trusting someone else completely. "Thank you," he said quietly, almost to himself, "for showing me that strength isn't always in giving orders." She nodded once, standing to leave the immediate bedside. "Some lessons aren't learned in the field. They're learned when you allow someone else to save you." Outside the room, whispers began to circulate. Not rumors, not gossip, but awe at the performance they had witnessed. How a single individual could shift the balance of authority in an instant, not through rank, but through competence and courage. The general lay back, watching her figure fade slightly as she moved to check other monitors. He realized he had been frozen by more than fear. He had been frozen by respect. Deep, earned, undeniable respect. That night, the hospital didn't just treat a patient. It observed a transfer of authority. Silent, invisible, but powerful. One that no one would ever forget. One that would define the way many staff thought about competence, trust, and leadership in life or death moments. Dr. Hale returned to the bed one last time before leaving the OR. Her eyes met his, steady, unflinching. "You'll recover. But remember this. Control isn't always yours to claim. Sometimes it's only survival when you allow it to be shared." He nodded, understanding for the first time what that truly meant. Some authority is given, some is taken, and some is earned. The general lay in his bed, finally still. The machines hummed softly, almost like a lullaby compared to the storm that had been the past 24 hours. He stared at the ceiling, processing everything. The operation, the confrontation, the undeniable authority of the woman who had saved him. Dr. Hale returned quietly, her steps measured. She didn't announce herself. She didn't need to. He knew. He had recognized her authority the moment she had walked in, and nothing had changed. "General," she said softly, standing at the foot of the bed, "how do you feel?" He blinked, trying to articulate a feeling he hadn't experienced in decades. Relief, surrender, clarity, and, strangely, respect. "Alive," he said simply. She nodded, understanding the depth of the word. Alive wasn't just breathing. Alive was trusting someone else fully. Alive was letting go of control without fear. Alive was listening when someone competent told him what he needed to hear. "You did everything right," he said, his voice steadier now, more reflective. "I thought rank gave me control. I thought authority meant survival. I thought fear was something I could ignore. But," he paused, searching for words, "I see now that none of that mattered here." Dr. Hale didn't respond immediately. She simply observed, letting the lesson sink in fully. "Power," she said at last, "isn't about rank or medals. It's about precision, understanding, and the courage to act when others hesitate. Control is an illusion. Competence is real." The general let that settle. He exhaled slowly, his shoulders finally releasing years of tension. "I understand," he admitted, quietly but honestly, "and I respect that. You didn't command me, you guided me, you earned it." She allowed herself the tiniest smile. Not prideful, not boastful, just acknowledgement. "Respect," she said, "isn't given, it's earned. And trust is survival." He turned his gaze toward the side window where the first hints of dawn crept across the horizon. The sky was gray-blue, streaked with the soft gold of morning. He had seen many sunrises, yet this one felt different, not because of its beauty, but because of the realization that life, and the control he so valued, was fragile, fleeting, and dependent on the competence of others. "You've changed the way I'll see authority," he said. "Not just in a hospital, but everywhere. In missions, in decisions, in life." Dr. Hale nodded. "Good. That means you'll survive longer. And maybe when it matters, you'll remember to trust the right people." He let out a low chuckle, a sound unfamiliar in its softness. "I've never trusted easily, never willingly, always had to see proof, evidence, control. And yet, today I had no choice but to surrender. And I lived." "Exactly," she said. "That's the lesson. Surrender isn't weakness, it's recognition of competence. That's true strength." The general shifted slightly on the bed, still cautious, still a leader, but now softened by understanding. "You saved more than my life," he said. "You saved my perspective, my approach, my ego." She tilted her head slightly. "Good. That's part of being a doctor. Not just treating the body, treating the decisions that affect it, and the choices that carry consequences." He studied her for a long moment. "I didn't think someone could see me, beyond the uniform, beyond the rank. But you did. You saw what I ignored for decades. You acted when others hesitated, and for that, I will never forget you." Dr. Hale straightened, her calm, steady presence never wavering. "You don't need to remember me," she said. "Remember the lesson. Control is fleeting, competence lasts. Trust wisely." The general nodded slowly, finally letting go of a tension that had defined him for decades. For the first time, he felt respect not as a demand, not as a tool, but as something earned through action. Outside the room, the administrator and staff watched quietly, absorbing the final lesson of the night. That true authority wasn't given by rank or title, but by action, competence, and timing. Whispers of awe spread through the hallways. The lesson was unspoken, but indelible. Dr. Hale checked his vitals one last time. Everything was stable. Recovery was on track. The general was alive. But more than that, he had learned to respect the weight of authority wielded correctly. As she prepared to leave, he called out softly, "Doctor, wait." She paused, glancing back. "I'll remember this. The way you acted, the way you saved me, and the way you earned my respect." She allowed a subtle nod. "Good. That's all that matters. Some lessons aren't written in reports. They're remembered by those who survive to tell them." He exhaled, a soft, unguarded sound. "Thank you." "No thanks needed," she replied. "Just live and use what you've learned." She walked to the door, her steps measured, confident, commanding without command. As she left, the general lay back, a man transformed, not by rank, not by orders, but by a realization he would carry forever. Some authority is earned, some respect cannot be demanded, and some lives are saved only when you allow someone else to take control. Outside the OR, whispers became stories, quietly told among staff who had witnessed something extraordinary. Stories that would inspire, caution, and teach for years to come. The general looked out the window one final time, sunlight now fully illuminating the ward. He had survived not because of control, not because of authority, but because he trusted the right person at the right time. And that, he realized, was the ultimate lesson. Some authority is given, some is taken, and some is earned. And for the first time in decades, he understood the difference. If this story of courage and unexpected authority shocked you, hit like and share it with someone who needs to see the power of trust and competence. Don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories where one brave decision can change everything. And comment below, what would you do if someone challenged your control but saved your life? Watch till the end of our next story to see another jaw-dropping twist you won't believe.